Greetings to readers of AU Manufacturing and others who have just stumbled onto this presentation by chance. We're here to launch the third iteration of AU Manufacturing's 50 Most Innovative Manufacturers campaign, or the 50 Most Innovative in its shorthand form, or hashtag A50MIM if you're way into the whole brevity thing. This time around, it's been made possible through the support of these fantastic sponsors: Australia-wide engineering recruitment, TXM Lean Solutions, the Industry Capability Network, Bonfiglioli Australia, the Advanced Manufacturing Growth Centre, and the Smart Crete CRC. A huge thanks to each of them. So why have we returned for a third time with this campaign and awards program? It's because there are a few topics as fundamental to manufacturing and therefore as relevant to our audience as innovation. Like manufacturing itself, innovation gets misunderstood and mischaracterised by people inside of, but especially outside of the industry. We see it as part of our job to run a months-long effort to learn from manufacturers that are applying innovation to identify, understand, and meet customer needs. The happy byproducts of this are value creation by the manufacturer, well-paying, rewarding jobs for Australians, and benefits to the national economy more broadly. This year around, we've selected the theme of risk and reward because it helps set the tone and correctly positions innovation as something that's both daring and carried out in service of a payoff. A major question we hope to explore this time around is what makes a company innovative? Later, we'll hear from two companies that are arguably highly innovative. But before that, we'll get a few words from Dr. Munib Karavdic, founder of Wave Design and conjoint professor in design and innovation at the Australian Graduate School of Management at UNSW. As well as being an expert in this subject, Munib and of course his team have designed judging criteria and provided invaluable guidance to us in this campaign. Take it away, Munib.
Hi there. My name is Munib Karavdic, and I'm the CEO of Wave Design. We are a strategic design and innovation firm. We help organizations create and own solutions people want. We have a long-standing partnership with AU Manufacturing and have been involved in designing the submission process and also involved in judging panel for selecting the top 50 most innovative manufacturers for the last couple of years. So let me start with the Jimmy Johnson, famous American football coach. When he was kind of briefing his team, he was saying the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Well, at Wave, we believe that that little extra is embedded in innovation. It's what elevates ideas, solutions from good to game-changing. And it is the force we recommend, we are committed to help companies discover within themselves. So then a lot of people are kind of have a struggle with the definition of innovation. And many people mistakenly believe innovation needs to be jaw-dropping or groundbreaking ideas. However, it doesn't need to be like that. It's all about creating value in unexpected ways. Creating value in unexpected ways. Innovation is about identifying challenges that matter or solving real problems. It's about pushing boundaries, exploring the unknown and embracing change, positioning business to lead in local and global markets. So another question is then, why investing in innovation is critical for Australian manufacturing? Well, innovation is not just a nice to have for manufacturing, it's essential. We currently witness a low contribution of manufacturing to our GDP. Well, I believe we are at the turning point where manufacturing can be redefined in Australia, especially driving innovation through manufacturing channel. We must leverage our accumulated knowledge and expertise to meet today's global challenges. There are many tangible benefits associated with innovation, and I would point out three of the most relevant in my view. But first benefit is innovation builds resilience. In a competitive, rapidly shifting economy, innovation helps manufacturers to adapt and thrive by rapidly responding to emerging trends. Second benefit is innovation fuels growth. By embedding lean practices, intelligent manufacturing, and eco-friendly approaches, we pave the way for long-term and sustainable success. And the third benefit is the innovation boosts the national economy. It creates new jobs, enable regional development, and strengthen Australian position on the world stage. Now, I thought it would be actually good if I give some kind of key learnings from our judging process in past years. And I observed four main qualities that set these top innovators apart from the rest. The first quality was actually they understand the problem. The leaders in innovation have a deep understanding of customer needs. They go beyond immediate feedback. They anticipate evolving demands and seek to deeply understand the root cause of the problems faced by their customers. The second quality is they use rapid prototyping and iterative improvements. The best way to reduce risk is in manufacturing is to start small and slowly scale up. So start using cardboard prototypes that cost almost nothing to build. Simple prototypes reduce the cost and the time of making improvements. While launching with fanfare is fun, the wisest companies know a soft and quiet launch is the best way to ensure success. But the message here is build, test, learn, and iterate that. And after you get a conviction and enough validation, scale. So the third quality is that these manufacturers, innovative manufacturers, have dedicated resources and an agreed process for innovation. Innovation must be more than a tagline. Many companies claim innovation is at the core of everything they do, but few follow through on that promise. Winning manufacturers have a defined process for innovation, which is a critical indicator of success. Knowing how to frame the problem, research that problem, generate ideas to solve that problem, develop a concept, design and test solutions, and finally launch the solution to market is the best way to achieve results. Again, with the lowest risk possible. And fourth quality is they see technology as an enabler, not the solution. Many manufacturers and engineers fall in love with their solutions. It's understandable. Many spend months, sometimes years, perfecting the mechanical, digital, and other systems that enable their solution to work. And emphasis here is on the word enable. Because at the end of the day, the things we build are there to create value. It's actually the value solutions create, not solutions themselves, that define innovation. At Wave, we firmly believe that innovation is the engine of progress. It's our mission to help manufacturers to tap into their potential, harnessing creativity and resilience to unlock new opportunities. So let's bring that little extra to Australian manufacturing to become extraordinary. Thank you.
And now I'd like to welcome our two special guests to this discussion. We have with us today Stephanie Winwood from Blue Glass and Martin Kedarovec from Pectin 360. Blue Glass is a true rarity in this country as a vertically integrated semiconductor firm. They're also a two-time top 10 finisher in the 50 Most Innovative, and last time around received the highest score overall for their work developing gallium nitride distributed feedback lasers. Pectin 360 might be a little less familiar to our audience, but you'll definitely be hearing more about them in future. They're commercializing a new process to upcycle fruit waste into pectin and other quality food ingredient products. Welcome to the panel, Stephanie and Martin.
Thanks, Brent. Great to be here.
Thank you as well.
Wonderful. So let's get started with a little introduction to the both of you and your companies. What do you do? What's the big idea or discovery behind what you do? And what's the current focus for your operations?
Thanks, Brent, for the great introduction. So as you mentioned, Blue Glass is a vertically integrated semiconductor manufacturer. What that actually means is that we have full suite capabilities all the way from depositing the individual atoms on a wafer through to turning those wafers into customer applications. And so for Blue Glass, what we do is we turn our semiconductor wafers into lasers. And these are visible gallium nitride lasers that are increasingly important in next generation applications, from next generation defense, directed energy, commercial sensing, quantum sensing, things like magnetic sensing that can read brain pulses in brain-driven prosthetics, and next generation disinfection and scientific applications as well. So these are really critical emerging devices. And we, as you mentioned earlier, we also have novel capabilities where we can do what's called a DFB, a distributed feedback laser, which means that it has single frequency capabilities. So that's going to be critical to enabling these next generation quantum sensors for things such as post GPS navigation for airplanes and autonomous vehicles. So our current focus, as you mentioned, is really addressing customer challenges, right? So we're one of the only pure play laser companies in the world that looks at these visible wavelengths that are becoming increasingly important. And these distributed feedback lasers and gallium nitride are not commercially available. They're really, really difficult and challenging to do. But our customers are coming to us from things like defense primes, OEMs, quantum computing and quantum sensing pioneers, and disruptive startups are coming to Blue Glass and asking us to help solve their challenges, the things that they can't get from any of the other suppliers in the market right now. And so that's a really exciting focus for Blue Glass at the moment.
And Martin?
So thanks, Brent, for the kind introduction as well. By way of my background in the business, I'm originally a chemical engineer. I'm the CEO and founder of Pectin 360, and my background's largely around working in large global organisations that had focuses on technology and complex manufacturing, including the likes of BOC Gases, Schenck Process, which is the minerals and mining processing organisation, and Alpha HPA, which produces high purity alumina. And all of those roles have required a strong focus on improvement and innovation. The background behind P360 or Pectin 360 is there's a strong customer and market demand for pectin to be made in Australia, which it hasn't been for over 30 years, and that addresses significant issues around quality, cost, and supply chain reliability. And I probably should explain what pectin is, because it's not necessarily a commonly used word. Pectin's an agent found in fruit waste, typically apple and, say, citrus peels, and it's used as a setting agent, a thickener and stabilizer in a variety of industries and in products such as jams and fruit preserves, yogurts, confectionery, as well as nutraceuticals. The idea that led to the founding of Pectin 360 was to utilise fresh fruit waste as it's generated at the source. And what that is, it doesn't mean it's at the orchard, but more likely at the first stage manufacturing. For example, a juice manufacturer where they crush the apples or they juice the oranges, and you have the fruit waste being the citrus peels or the apple pomace left over. This ends up being a low-cost raw material because these suppliers or these manufacturers often have to pay disposal costs to get rid of the material. And we've partnered a little while ago now with a great company called Scimitar Ventures, who is our R&D partner. And through Scimitar, we've done two stages of work. One was the completion of a a technical review of the landscape in terms of what are all the current and emerging technologies to manufacture pectin. And that, as we went through that exercise, we identified and shortlisted many scenarios where technologies have been proven in other areas but hadn't been applied for pectin extraction. And that, for me, it's a bit of a sweet spot. So you've got technology that it's been proven, but it's not been applied in the area you're focusing on. By using this fresh fruit waste and those emerging technologies, we get a couple of significant advantages, one of which is the fresher the waste, the better the yield and quality of the pectin. I've already mentioned the raw materials are low-cost input because it's a waste that's being disposed of. And our emerging technologies, when we did the review, showed that they would be use far less energy and therefore make a more cost-effective product. We followed up that review by doing some extensive bench testing in making pectin from both orange peel and apple pomace. And we found that we were getting industry best practice yields and quality using these innovative technologies. And the power consumption was significantly lower because we didn't have to apply an extraction process for up to 6 or 9 hours, which is what it takes the general process. Ours was far more efficient. Where we are at the moment is we've partnered with a major fruit waste manufacturer in Victoria. I'm very proud to say with the Original Juice Company, and we have a heads of agreement in place with OJC. And the ambition there is to ultimately create a commercial facility on their premises, on their site where the fresh fruit waste is literally produced 50 metres away from the entry point to our facility. And we're also now in the final stages of sorting out and agreeing a service agreement with a leading Australian research institution based in Victoria to build a pilot plant as a precursor to the commercial facility. That pilot plant's got 2 main objectives. One is to make pectin and fibre samples for customer trials and ultimately get what I would call letters of support. The purpose of the pilot plant is twofold. One is to make customer samples of pectin and fibres for proving that they work functionally and are of the correct quality. And the other one is to de-risk subsequent scale-up into a commercial facility.
Thank you, Stephanie and Martin. So my next question is about niches. They're important for any company of any size to know where they're focused and focus where nobody else is, hopefully, or very few people are. So tell me about the role of niches to both of your companies. How did you end up in your niche and what does it look like?
Niching has been critical for Blue Glass, and it's actually been quite a long journey for us to get to where we are now. So we are now a vertically integrated visible gallium nitride laser company, right? We started off with actually developing a unique reactor, so a unique deposition technology to make semiconductor wafers like gallium nitride in a way that nobody else is able to do it, right? So we now use our unique deposition technology for a very important market. And the reason that we've done this is that we had a service arm. So we had this business called EpiBlue where we help customers bring new applications to market. And we were working with so many customers who kept coming to us and asking us to help them develop novel laser capabilities because there were so many unmet demands in the marketplace and nobody willing to tackle these really difficult challenges. So how we tried to do this in the beginning is we have our unique deposition technology. We can use and harness the benefits of both traditional deposition and our novel remote plasma chemical vapor deposition technology. But what needed to do was take that capability from just the wafers through to the application. And we tried to do this using contract manufacturers overseas in both the US and Europe. However, that was really, really challenging because gallium nitride laser contract manufacturers simply don't exist. So we were trying to do this development with, companies who do lasers in different material classes and do development at contract manufacturers as just a portion of their business. And while it was was working, it was very, very slow and quite expensive. And so when a captive fab came available in the US, where we got the opportunity to purchase a fully functional downstream fab in Silicon Valley, even though it was in a different material class, we jumped at that opportunity. It was a very cost-effective way for us to bring in our full supply chain in-house as well. So it would have cost us in the order of US $40 to $50 million to build this fab from scratch. We were able to purchase it for US $2.5 million, the equipment and the facility lease, and also hire specialist staff who had been operating these particular equipments for over a decade, right? So the benefit was enormous. So having that full vertically integrated wafer capability has been game changing for Blue Glass. So it's meant that because we have this flexibility and this agility, customers suddenly are starting to come to us with even more requests for novel capabilities and custom developments. So Blue Glass is now a member of the US Department of Defense's Microelectronics Commons. So we're one of the members of the Clause Hub. So we work with the likes of General Electric, Coherent, MACOM, formerly Wolfspeed, and we're developing lab-to-fab capabilities for dual-use applications. So for applications that will have use in both defense applications, such as commercial aviation and defense aviation technologies. So this has been really, really important for Blue Glass as well, because becoming part of this US Microelectronics Commons is been game-changing in our visibility, our access to US defense primes, and also US OEMs as well. So having that niche, having that meeting the market where the market's not being met anywhere has been, transformative for Blue Glass. But we also still maintain our very unique reactor technology, that instead of trying to license that technology or sell that equipment to other people in the market, we're now the only shop that you can get the benefits of our technology from. And that is enabling us to address these really critical challenges that customers have and bring novel applications to market.
Thanks, Stephanie. And Martin?
Thanks, Brent. So in terms of, I suppose, identifying and operating in a niche, at a high level, Pectin 360 attempts to address a number of issues in the market, such as no domestic supplier for over 30 years, variable pectin quality based on the source, and a supply chain with security risks, which often leads to holding more inventory and costs for the users. This is coupled with benefits that I believe we have in the ability to use immediately produced fruit waste so that the pectin quality and yield is high. And by co-locating on a site where it's manufactured, we take advantage of a low-cost input. And from that, we can make both pectin and fibre. As I mentioned at the outset, there's been no pectin produced in Australia and New Zealand for over 30 years. It's all been imported, typically either from China, America, or Europe. There are significant issues with supply chain security, and global events in the last decade have certainly made that situation worse. Prices are trending up, and they have continued to trend up over the last 5 years. And customers obviously can't afford stock out, so they're holding excess inventory to manage some of that risk. Many customers have mentioned these issues and the fact that additionally they would love to have an all Australian-made pectin that would give them significant benefits in terms of labelling, quality and traceability. And a good example is there are a number of jam manufacturers that have said we could put an all Australian-made label on our product, but we can't at the moment. And for those sorts of products, pectin's only got an inclusion rate of around 1 or 2% by weight. So it's a critical thing that makes their products more attractive. Pectin also is probably the best alternative to gelatin in that it's a vegan setting agent available from fruit waste, and it's got more positive flavour attributes than other setting agents. We see not only the substitution of imported pectin as an opportunity for our business, but also attacking that gelatin market as well, particularly where customers use both products.
Thank you, Martin. We're just going to have a quick interlude here and hear a few words from our sponsor, Australia-wide Engineering.
Hello. The team at Australia-wide Engineering Recruitment is delighted to be one of the sponsors of AU Manufacturing's 2025 campaign to identify and celebrate Australia's most 50 innovative manufacturers. Australia-wide Engineering Recruitment is a 45-year-old company that specialises in permanent and contract recruitment for engineering, technology, design, manufacturing, and a variety of operational roles right across Australia. Over these 45 years, we've become very well connected with technical talent in these industries. We also have additional divisions that cover industrial trades, labour hire, office support areas, and an outplacement service. Manufacturing has been at the heart of where we recruit, from the shop floor to the top floor. We're the only recruitment company in Australia where all of the recruitment team are qualified engineers themselves. Our recruiters have had successful careers as engineers and then decided to apply their engineering skills to the recruitment world. We understand the roles that we're recruiting, and we believe this level of expertise leads to better quality outcomes for our clients and candidates alike. We are very much relationship driven rather than merely being transactional, and hence our partnership approach by working alongside our clients and candidates in a very collaborative fashion often results in meaningful, sustainable, and repeatable successes. In our company's 45 years of recruiting technical talent, we've partnered with many innovative manufacturing companies, and it's been an honor to have a front row seat to watch them grow. It's been amazing how many times these companies have started with a gem of an idea from an engineer who might have spotted a gap in the market or can see that a product's features can be enhanced or the product can meet a different need. So they put it all on the line and give it a good go. I think Australia has been exceptional in producing and developing these types of engineers over many years. Innovation is exciting. Innovation is rewarding. Innovation is key for any company to continually improve, and hence we are super excited to play a small role in this very interesting campaign. The very best of luck to all concerned, and many thanks again to AU Manufacturing.
So next question I want to ask you both is, what are some of the major specific opportunities you're chasing if you don't think you've already addressed them sufficiently above? And what are some of the development projects currently underway in service of these? Steph, I'll let you go first.
I think I mentioned before that we're getting a lot of interest from the quantum sector. So a lot of people think that quantum is something that is quite far off on the horizon, but actually quantum sensing is already here, and quantum computing is years, not decades away. So the development requests that we're getting from the industry are growing, and they're coming from all segments of the industry as well, from defense primes to OEMs to disruptive startups in Europe and the US and in Australia. So the quantum sensing opportunity is really massive, and that is a really critical focus for Blue Glass. Now, this opportunity is growing from a non-existent base today to be worth over $1 billion by 2030, and is predicted to reach over $6 billion just by 2040. So it's a market that will experience explosive growth, and it's because it's critically important. So we're talking about things that will enable navigation in a post-GPS world, which we've seen, some of the supply chain disruptions that can happen when just a small part of the tech stack goes offline for even just a matter of hours. But post-GPS, can cost globally supply chains $1 billion a day when we lose access to GPS and hostile environments. So this is a problem that really needs to be addressed. And so quantum sensing applications will enable commercial navigation and defense navigation in a post-GPS environment. But this is something that's also critically important for things like quantum sensing will enable brain-driven prosthesis. So because it's so precise, we're talking about atomic level stimulation and sensing, it will be game-changing in the applications that will be able to be brought to market in the decade ahead. So that is why it is such a critical application. And it's a really challenging application as well, which is why it requires capabilities that don't exist today. So it needs highly precise, highly stable, single frequency laser technology. And so this is where Blue Glass is focused with our distributed feedback lasers, which are that really super narrow, super precise, super high fidelity technology for these quantum sensing applications, which will require multiple wavelengths across the visible spectrum. That's a really critical focus for us at the moment.
Thanks, Steph. And Martin, do you have anything to add, or do you think perhaps you've already addressed it above?
No, just very quickly, Brent. I mean, the specific opportunities we're now looking at is having proven high quality recovery and yield and process benefits using emerging technologies. We're now moving from bench scale to a pilot plant scale process, which is going to make both samples and de-risk future scale up. The other piece we're looking at is we've reasonably recently decided to include all the other waste byproducts of the fruit waste that we're processing. So we're looking to actually convert some of that orange waste and apple waste into a fruit dietary fibre, which means we become a zero waste operation, which is highly attractive. And it also means that our business profitability increases significantly. And the upcoming work there is to do some characterisation on that fibre in how we can either use it as it is or modify it appropriately to make it into a desirable and commercially effective product.
Thanks. So let's consider the communication aspect. So let's hear about communicating your story, each of you. How do you approach articulating things such as the problem you're solving? Obviously, a no-brainer. We're talking about innovation and things like where your innovation currently is and where it's headed. How do you do this when you talk to customers, investors, the media perhaps, and others?
Thanks, Brad. That's a really juicy subject. And in my role, one of my favorite things to look at, really. So it's very different for Blue Glass across our different audiences, right? So I'll start with the investor audience. So in Australia, the semiconductor market is not very well understood, actually. So I would say it's one of the least understood sectors locally. And so that education piece has been really, really critical and important for taking our investors with us along the journey. And so Blue Glass has had to do lots of initiatives, such as we recently hosted Semiconductor Australia, a conference all about educating the investor market about Australia's semiconductor opportunity and role in our global supply chains. So that's been really valuable, actually. So we have a really passionate cohort of investors who really love the space and are really incredibly supportive. For our customers, it's actually very, very different, right? So I can remember taking our first trade stand over to Photonics West, and when we were talking about, having this opportunity and looking to provide visible lasers, and the customers coming to us and just telling us what our value proposition was, how they needed us to meet their need, right? So for customers, it's actually a lot of listening. It's a lot of really understanding what are their unmet needs, how can we address exactly what they're looking for. And so it's really having that super collaborative customer relationship has meant that we have started to develop the exact products that meet their specific needs, right? So we're working with customers on next generation applications so that we're designed in to their product and their process, right? So when those products come to market, we're going to be their manufacturing supplier because we're already designed in to the product and that process. So, but communicating and marketing and disrupting in the global semiconductor supply chain means that you do have to do a lot of communications. You have to really tell your story. But that's a fun part of the job, and that's why I love my job.
Awesome. And Martin, at this early stage of Pectin 360's history, how do you approach the communications question?
Thanks, Brendan. As Stephanie said, interestingly, the problem we're addressing is a customer market problem. So ultimately, the discussion has started when the business was created and continues to evolve around solving an issue around pectin supply, quality, and reliability. And that's something that the customers or potential customers have been telling us from day one. As we've moved forward as a business, that communication keeps moving forward, and obviously customers' needs and desires change over time. So this is a key part of what we do and always will have to do. In terms of investors, we've currently got a relatively small group of investors, and the need for them is to highlight what the market we're pitching to is, what it looks like in the future in terms of growth and de-risking, and the fact that the business is scalable and it's going to provide competitive returns. In terms of where we're at the moment with our innovation, I mentioned before, we've completed a technology landscape review which showed that there were some emerging technologies which we've proven to be effective using practical trials. We've actually completed what I call an economic scoping study, which simulates one of our commercial facilities using real equipment modelled in a process simulator. The companies like petrochemical companies use those all the time. And by modelling real equipment at scale, we've now worked out we can fairly accurately model our cost base, and our cost base using raw material on a supplier site, low cost extraction of pectin with lower energy requirements makes us very competitive compared to imported prices. The other pieces I mentioned we're de-risking some of those technologies now on a larger scale by utilising a well-known research organisation in Victoria. Once we've done that, and the aim is to make that, I suppose, conversion process or extraction process more continuous in nature, so it mimics a large-scale commercial facility, we'll have largely de-risked a lot of the technology and allow us to move into a pilot plant stage to make both customer samples as well as de-risk the final scale up to a commercial facility.
Right. Well, let's look at non-investor support now. Our time is marching away from us, and I think that the investor communications sort of and capital raising side of things has been covered elsewhere and can be covered elsewhere by other people. So let's look at non-investor support. Are you both making use of particular government grants and programs, for example, the R&D tax incentive? If so, which ones of these are useful for you, and what would you comment on how they're run?
Yeah, the R&D tax incentive is critical to Blue Glass. It's a brilliant way to provide non-dilutive funding to your development roadmap, and I think it's a really crucial pillar to Australians' R&D. Commercializing deep technology here in Australia. I think it is actually a really good scheme. So the other things that we look at in terms of non-investor support are winning large-scale revenue-generating projects, such as the US Department of Defense's Microelectronics Commons, and other large non-dilutive revenue-generating products for us while we continue to develop our technologies. This is a really powerful way for us to fund our advanced roadmaps. And the other thing that we do is we partner with both Australian and US universities. So this is a really good way for us to augment our skills and our technologies, and also bring novel capabilities to market and do that transition from lab to fab as well.
And Martin?
Yes, so thanks, Brent. Yeah, we take advantage of a couple of key mechanisms. I mean, the R&D tax incentive rebate is a fantastic mechanism. We've been in place for 3 different rounds of applications and had success in all of those. And to date, we've received about $350,000, which is about half of what we've raised. So as Stephanie says, it's a great input in terms of non-dilutive cash into the business. It also means that other people have gone and looked through your process and it's demonstrably innovative, pardon me. And that's a mechanism that we are going to continue to rely upon heavily going forward. It's fantastic. In terms of other funding, we're looking with this leading research organisation to secure a grant shortly and then move towards a pilot plant program in Victoria, as I mentioned. And grants are, again, a fantastic way of adding money to the business without being dilutive. Other than that, we haven't so far had significant exposure to universities, although, as I say, with this leading research organisation, they're effectively a university in terms of capability, and really looking forward to what they can deliver to our next steps in terms of pilot plant development.
Thanks, Martin. We'll leave listeners to guess as to who that leading research institute might be, but I'm sure some might have their suspicions, but we'll find out in an official sense in good time, I'm sure. So, in terms of policies designed to stimulate R&D, are there any around at the moment that you think aren't working as they should? I mean, every man and his dog seems to have an opinion on the NRF, for example, whether or not it's moving too quickly. And there are others out there that I don't have time to list. If you have thoughts to share, the more controversial, the better, obviously. Give them to me.
I would really like to see a faster rollout of both the NRF and ASCA. I think that there are some, really significant challenges with the defence export controls that have been, now applied across dual use technologies. I think at a time when we really need not to be adding barriers to Australian deep tech and manufacturing innovation and enabling Australian businesses to export and commercialise those in global markets. Those really very wide encompassing export controls, especially for Australian semiconductor and quantum businesses, is prohibitive. It's really challenging to navigate. While exemptions can be possible, navigating exemptions for every single item on that list is going to be a very, very long process. So we would like to see either support provided for navigating that process or another look at how those export controls are going to be enforced going forward. Another thing that's really not helpful is some of the training implications around having foreign workers in your business. At Blue Glass, we have a very globalized team with lots of international citizens in our team in Australia as well. So these things like providing training to our team across our equipment can become challenging. So there are some unintended consequences that are going to occur, and that these will play out in the decade ahead.
And Martin?
Thanks, Brent. So with respect to the National Reconstruction Fund, it's an entity that we're very aware of. We're at the moment looking at engaging in terms of a business case, which I believe would qualify in their agricultural domain and the sort of conversion of industry outputs into higher value goods. We are exploring grant funding opportunities with various research organisations, although the number of eligible opportunities is not huge. And my only other comment is, we trawl or review the grant space very frequently, or availability of funds. And I find that they're very often either geographically or commercially quite restrictive. So there's probably in many ways more grant opportunities that are state-based but only applicable to a certain state. And similarly, I mean, we're a pre-revenue business which has got a lot of challenges, and there's often criteria around minimum revenues and so forth as well. So I'd like to see, if anything, if there's a possible broadening of both the geographies and some of the more commercial business criteria that would mean some of these mechanisms were more readily available to more businesses.
Thanks, Martin. Now we're going to take a quick break here for a few words from another of our sponsors, and that's Bonfiglioli Australia.
ICN started back in 1984 in Victoria, and the reason we started was to give small businesses an opportunity to link up with projects. Very soon, we spread across the country and onto New Zealand as well. The reason for our success? The reputation that we have built over the years with project owners. Don't forget that we have a very committed and skilled team of consultants across the country working in our local ICN offices. They verify the small businesses that they work with and link them up with the projects. There are no restrictions when it comes to the project side of things. We can work with anyone locally, regionally, and even globally. However, if you happen to be a small business, you need to be registered in Australia or New Zealand.
And so I'd like to know now your thoughts on how you know what your customers want and how you know the right way to be flexible and shift course, know when to hold them, when to fold them and all that. Obviously, you have to adjust with the circumstances and with market demands and whatnot. How are you guided by this? What data do you use? Tell me about that, please.
Sure. So I think the most valuable thing that you can do with your customers is really partner with them, especially if you're in the early stage of your business and you're bringing products to market. I just think it's never too early to engage with customers, and it's never too late. You should be engaging with them at every part of the journey. So for us, we launched a suite of products at the beginning of 2023, and even though that was like our initial roadmap, we had plans for, and this roadmap was developed with customers before we launched. But then post-launching, the demand from customers and the areas that they were focused on shifted even and narrowed even further, right? So it's just that constant refinement, working with customers to really understand, where our agility and where our strengths and flexibility are strongest in order to continue to be developing those products that are going to help them revolutionize their development so that they can delight their customers. So it's just that constant evaluation, working with customers on large projects means that we are working to be designed in those applications that are coming to market. And I think that's been really, really valuable for us. So it's a constant case of refining and pivoting.
Martin.
Yeah, so we've from day one, and even before our business was created, we've engaged customers in terms of understanding what the need or the issue is with the market in terms of pectin and fibre. And we continually work with them to better understand that and better understand the issues we're trying to solve. This obviously requires you to be agile. And as that relationship deepens, obviously the trust deepens. So by way of example, when I first engaged many customers across target markets, I was doing almost all the listening around what their issues were, what were some of the product deficiencies. And then we started to build a business case around that. That's now deepened to the point where we've got trust developed, and they'll start to share information such as typical product specifications and volumes that they use, which we can tailor to develop our business model and our manufacturing blueprint. The flexibility is critical in a number of areas and being able to change. Not so much with respect to customers, but with suppliers. We went and visited every single fruit waste supplier in Australia. And as we reviewed all of those, we got a better understanding of what product waste mix they produce. And we also had this commitment that we wouldn't ask the suppliers to change anything in their process, literally to dump the waste as it was being produced into our onto our front door, so to speak. And that required flexibility. And ultimately, we chose our ultimate supplier of fruit waste, being the Original Juice Company, based on criteria that they had the right mix of fruit waste and that we were simply going to dovetail into their process and not request any changes whatsoever.
Thanks, Martin. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation, but we are sort of running out of time. So before I thank you for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us and helping us put on a pretty good opening presentation, I would like to offer you both a free kick on an issue you're passionate about. I'll leave it up to you. Let's start with Stephanie, please.
Thanks, Brent. I think one of the myths that I would love to bust in the Australian marketplace is that Australia doesn't have a semiconductor sector. It's true that we don't have a multi-billion-dollar silicon fab here in Australia, but we actually have a nascent semiconductor sector here that spans things from chip design through to vertically integrated manufacturers such as Blue Glass and others in compound semiconductors, right? So that means that we are doing next generation materials that will disrupt really important applications and strategic capabilities. So I think it's really important that we actually invest to keep our nascent semiconductor, photonics and quantum sectors here in Australia. And I would like to see our world-leading R&D become world-leading commercialization onshore here in Australia as well.
That's a pithy response. Thank you, Stephanie. And Martin, please.
So thanks, Brent. In terms of a free kick and an issue, I mean, there's two issues I'm passionate about. One is around, I suppose, eliminating food waste of any sort, and fruit waste falls into that category. And the other one is around trying to keep as much manufacturing in Australia as possible and bring it back onshore. And by, I suppose, having a business model where we're using fresh fruit waste that would otherwise be destined as organic landfill with all those sort of subsequent greenhouse gas emission effects, utilising that and upcycling it into pectin and fibre, we're going to bring back manufacturing that hasn't been evident in Australia for over 30 years, using some emerging technologies that haven't been applied in this space. So that's really good for manufacturing know-how. And I suppose our plant's very scalable. I mean, we're starting off obviously with a single commercial facility because it would be reckless to do anything bigger, and it's commercially sensitive to start small or sensible. But we've got a scalable model whereby we can then locate into other geographies in Australia where there's significant waste produced and ultimately address a market in Australia that's around a 600 tonne per annum market of pectin, and the combined pectin and gelatin markets are around 120 million. And, we're even looking at things like IP and royalties by being able to roll out processes in other geographies that are less capital intensive.
Martin, Stephanie, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful to get your thoughts on this very important topic and really appreciate it. So thanks for being on this webinar, and we'll talk again soon.
Many thanks, Brent.
So before we officially launch the 50 most innovative for 2024-25, here's a message from one of our excellent sponsors, TXM Lean Solutions.
My name is Tim McLean, and I'm Managing Director of TXM Lean Solutions, Australia's leading lean and operational excellence consulting company. Over the past 20 years, we've had the privilege to work with over 600 Australian manufacturers and help them implement innovative solutions to improve their operations so they can grow and increase productivity. At TXM, we're passionate believers in Australian manufacturing. We're constantly amazed by the innovative products and processes of our customers, as well as their courage and entrepreneurial spirit. Therefore, we're excited to be sponsors of the 2025 Australia's Most Innovative Manufacturers Awards. We believe that innovation is the key to building sustainable, growing manufacturing businesses that can compete on the world stage. Fortunately, Australians are great innovators, and these awards showcase just a sample of the clever companies across our country. We're proud to have been part of the success story of so many of these companies and look forward to another 20 years of helping innovative manufacturing companies succeed and grow.
So with that discussion complete, it's a privilege and a joy to tell you all that the campaign is now off and running. Every manufacturer innovates, and they're all welcome to nominate for these awards. We'll be doing our best to feature at least one nominee a week on average, so expect plenty of profiles and lots of lessons from some of the literal best in the business over the coming months. Be sure to regularly check aumanufacturing.com.au for these, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, the AU Manufacturing Conversations Companion podcast, our social media channels, and of course our newsletter. Links for all of these are available in the show's description. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.